If you spend any regular amount of time at the desk, then the position that you put your spine in will have a dramatic effect on your long-term health. Whether that involves pain around the shoulders, the neck, or the lower back, or headaches or migraines, or whether that's just general dysfunction within the body. And when we get a problem in the spine, there are generally 3 different aspects in which this comes from, which causes it. The first one is going to be emotional stress. The most common example of this is going to be stress itself. Then we've got chemical stress. That's going to be toxins, inflammatory diets. And then lastly, we've got physical stress. We've got 2 different types of physical stress. We've got the obvious, which is going to be a car accident, a slip or a fall. And then we've got the less obvious, the micro traumas, which is going to be things like posture. And particularly nowadays, with most people sitting and working at the desk, posture has never been more important. And one of the easiest things you can do is just get the right position of your body and your desk. And then once you set this up, you don't even have to think about it. But the difference it's going to make long term is really huge. So in this video, what I'm going to go through is my top 5 critical steps that you need to follow to position your desk correctly so that you can have better health long term and less pain. And then stick to the end because I've got a bonus that I want to give you as well. Let's begin. Hello, my name is Dr. Steven Hulme. I am a chiropractor here at now Northwood Chiropractic, Oxford. We just recently opened up a new clinic in Oxford. And this video that I'm doing today, I think is a very vitally important one, particularly for the types of people that I see, but really most people out there. So going into the first step, the first thing is you've got to position yourself. And the easiest way to think about this, because posture can get a little bit complex if you think too deeply into it, but essentially you just want to be the tallest person in the room. So sitting as tall as you can, but you don't want to be in a position where you're really under a lot of tension. So just sitting nice and upright. You can apply this as well when you're standing and you're walking. Always be the tallest person in the room. And this is one of the issues sometimes when someone is very tall and they don't want to be as tall, is that sometimes end up crouching more. So you don't want to do this. It's not very good for your spine. But you've got to start with yourself here. Now, once you've positioned yourself in a good position, then the next thing is to position your chair. Now, generally, the higher the chair, the better. And the reason for this is because the higher the chair, the more that your knees are going to be pointing downwards. The most important thing here, though, is to ensure that the knees aren't pointing upwards. So you want them either 90 degrees or ideally tilting slightly downwards. The reason for this is because when they're tilting downwards, the pressure that comes from the weight of your body can be more distributed down the legs and out through the body. Instead, if the knees are pointing upwards, then the pressure is more likely to be distributed and stop in the low back. That puts more pressure on the low back and can lead to problems in that area. Now, to be able to change the height of your desk is going to be a really helpful one. To be able to get that precise height is very, very helpful, because if you've got a static desk, it is hard to get to even change the position of that desk. So if you've got a moving standing desk, this is actually going to be a really helpful thing, and also will play into the bonus tip I'm going to give to you at the end. Now, this is also a really good time for me to thank Dom Lee, who sent me this lovely standing desk here. I approached them to ask them whether they would give me this desk to be able to do this video, and they did. And the reason why I picked this desk, 2 main reasons, is that the desk itself has a lovely, lovely top. This is an oak solid wood with curved edges and oiled. So it's really nice to work from. And then the mechanism underneath is fantastic. The way that it goes up and down is very, very smooth, and you can also preset the settings, so you can easily go from sitting to standing without even having to think about it. So if you are looking for a standing desk, I'll put their details in the description of this video. Now, you want to be able to position the desk so that generally you want the elbows around 90 degrees so that the wrists are in as neutral position as possible. I also suggest ensuring that the elbows are resting on the desk, because what that means is that you're not going to be then holding up the elbows using the muscles across the top of your shoulders. If you get a lot of tension and pain around here, this may be one of the reasons. And so just by simply resting the elbow, we'll actually have more of a relaxed position. Then number 4, that's when we start to then get to the monitor, and you want to then raise the screen so that once you're in that good position and everything else is adjusted, you want the eyes to naturally just fall straight ahead at the top third of that screen. So what I quite like, and I've got recently, is a mounted stand for the monitor. What that enables me to do is be able to move the monitor really easily at any height that I like and any angle that I like. Most people will have the monitor too low, so typically what you want to do is raise it. Now, if you don't have a mounted monitor, you can just simply get a stand that just sits on the table, or you can just simply put something underneath it, even if it's a few books. Anything will make a big difference. You just got to get the height in the right position. And finally, number 5 is to have some support for the lower back. The spine has these natural curves. If we look at the spine from the side, you've got a curve that goes forwards in the low back, backwards in the mid back, and forwards again in the neck. That curve that goes forwards in the low back is really important for keeping you upright. And if you don't support it in the lower back, then naturally it's going to collapse into the chair. And that is then going to cause the rest of the spine just to slouch. If you support that curve in the low back with a simple cushion, or you can buy a specific lumbar support, then it means that you don't have to actively keep yourself upright all day long, because we know what it's like. Once you get towards the end of the day, you're naturally going to slouch because you're going to get a bit tired. But if you've got a support there, then it means that when you're relaxing, there's nowhere for that spine to go, so it's going to force you to stay upright, but you can also stay relaxed. So they are the most important 5 steps for setting up your desk. So have a look at your desk posture and see what you can do to improve it. Even a small tweak will make a really big difference long term, just because of how it's a small micro traumas that build up over time. So one small mistake will grow and grow. 10 years time, you can have a real problem that can take a long time to address. Now, this brings me on to my bonus tip, and actually something that I would say is probably more important than the position that you put yourself, because the joints in your body, and particularly of your spine, are designed to move. And one of the issues when you're at your desk is you're not moving. So one of the things you can do is keep changing position. And that brings me back to the standing desk, and why I love the standing desk so much, and the ability to be able to adapt it, is because you can keep changing positions. Now, I think that standing desks are very good, not necessarily just because you can stand, but you can constantly go from sitting to standing across the day. And if you have the ability to be able to easily move the position of the table, then that will mean that you're more likely to go from sitting to standing to sitting. And that process of you always moving position will just spread out the pressure across your body, so that the problem or the pressure doesn't build up in one specific area. So going from standing to sitting is something that if you can do will make a really big difference for you in the future. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet subscribed, then please do, because the next video I'm going to bring out is going to be the 5 most common mistakes that people make when they go to set up their desk. So this is going to really complement everything that I've just gone through now to help improve your spinal health and your overall health, and help you live in less pain and more optimal health. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching. See you next time.